Alright, here we are in our top 29, and the 29 is uh, about how much has been in each video so far, but I wanted to have the top 13 be its own video. So this is the second to last one of these videos, and it's only going to have 16 placements in it. I'm going to try and go through it kind of quickly, sorry, but my phone doesn't have as much space uh, as usual. So far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 9 still have characters in the and 11, Freddy vs. Jason. So all of those movies still are have characters in the running. So I'm going to do a quick run through of this. This would be the order of which characters were first introduced on this list, aka which movie has the worst characters so far. That would be 11, 8, 7, 10, 9, 3, 12, 6, 5, 1, 4, and then 2. For the bests, so far, the worst best characters have been from 8, 10, 7, 5, 12. So we still have a few movies left where the lasts could be appearing in this list. At number 29, we have Paul Holt from the second movie, who gives the whole speech in the background of Jason and how some say he's still out in the woods and that he survived his drowning and all that shit. And I love it. And Paul is a very interesting character. He's the boss. But he's a better boss than Steve, I think, because he's a lot less like it needs to get done. He's also not. They're not really trying to fix up the camp or anything. They're just training to be counselors. But I like that, like, he's just like, these kids smoke better dope than I do, and like all that crazy shit. Like, he's very chill with everything. Like but he is also their boss, and I like that he makes Jeff and Sandra stay behind for the night out. He's not as high as some of the other characters in the movie and on the list, just because he's also an authority figure and therefore a little less relatable. But I do really like Paul Holt. I do think he's dead, though. Just saying. 28, we have Jeff, who is the Jeff and Sandra spear death. And their dynamic is really funny because she's always trying to do insane shit, and he's always like, okay. And that dynamic is great. And that's why he's this high on this list. Those two are really funny. I also like his dynamic with Ted. And I like his dynamic with Paul. He's got very great dynamics with everybody. And 27 is Mark from the second movie, who gets the machete in the face. And that kill is gold. And that character's gold, because he's just this very nice, chill dude who's like into arm wrestling and shit, but like his dynamic with Vicky is like what makes that group of characters to me. Like, I love that dynamic a lot. And number 26 is Brenda, the vegan from the first movie that gets yeeted through a window. Love that character. Love her dynamics with Ned. Love her dynamic with Marcy. Again, it's a lot of saying the word dynamics in this part of the video, which does make sense because you get to know a character more based on their interactions with other characters and stuff. I like Brenda a lot. But again, I just had to delete more apps to continue after Mark from part 2, so that's a whole... I need to plow through these. Number 25 is the last character from the 9th movie. And that would be Stephen Freeman. Not to be confused with Ryan from the show, who would make it higher on this list if I was including that show. But Stephen from the 9th movie is a badass. He figures out the situation from Duke, and then he fucking just goes after Jason, just like constantly protecting her from Jason, protecting his ex, protecting his daughter, just trying to help his friends out too. Like, yes, he does definitely fuck Randy over to get out of jail, but he needed to. And I just love it. I love the whole thing with the jail, with him hopping through the handcuffs and then shooting fucking Jason and then slicing Jason's throat. And the fight with him and Kane at the fucking end too is just, it's so much. Gotta love that character. But he is the last character from the ninth movie, which puts that at the sixth uh, movie to have no more characters really coming in the lists, which is halfway through that. And at 24, we have pervy Ted from the fourth movie. Ted is kind of a dork. He's a little weird. He's grabbing, like, you don't gotta grab. Yeah. Anywho, he's something else. But I do really enjoy him because obviously he's this high on this list. He's really funny. Like when he's sitting there getting really stoned watching old timey porn and just laughing every time it's him and Jimmy. Their dynamic is one of the saving graces of the fourth movie. Well, not saving grace because that would imply that there's something wrong that it's saving, but it's just a great movie. But one of the highlights, I'll say. I don't know. I fucking love this character. Moving on is the 23rd placement, Shelly, who gets Jason's mask. And Shelly is the relatable dork who's kind of a horror buff that you want to root for to get the girl, even though you know he's not going to. And it's such a fun character. I love his dynamic with everyone because he's a prankster and he's unaware of how like awful those pranks are in consideration of like everything that's going on and like just because Chris is traumatized and fucking Andy's sick of it, obviously, and he's supposed to be trying to impress Vera, and his way of impressing her is to pull a prank on her. The timing is just all off, and I love it. And this character rules, but he only is 23rd in this ranking. At 22nd, something that'll upset all of you way more than what I just said about like putting him there. This is gonna upset so many people. But I have to be honest, 22 is Ginny, the final girl from the second movie. And she's actually a great character, but I don't relate to her as much as the other characters on the list. And I know it's upsetting that one of the best final girls is so low, but I just love the characters so much. You know, it's hard to like. We got like 3 killers left, and like just some iconic characters, and it's difficult to do this ranking. Trust me, you'd think it's difficult just like towards the other end, but it's more difficult towards this end. And in that vein, at 21 is Ted from the second movie. And Ted from the second movie is the first to discount Ned. And I say that with love, because that subsection of characters is very interesting to me. But Ted is a goofball. He does, like, the first big jump scare prank thing. I mean, Ned was doing pranks in the first movie with the arrow and all that stuff, so yeah, that was a jump scare prank, but Ted carries that through to the next movie, you know? Paul and him are planning this when Paul tells the Jason story. It's all this iconic moment. He's such an iconic character, and he's a genius because he doesn't go back to the camp. He just stays partying, and he survives. I'm sure he had a hell of a hangover, and when he found out everyone was dead, he was like, oh, fuck. But, you know. And up next at 20 is Sandra, who is always just doing the wrong things, trying to do the craziest things, trying to go into Camp Blood. I mean, that's really about it. It's fun to see Sandra get Jeff into doing these stupid, crazy things. Number 19 is Mark from Freddy vs. Jason. Love this character. He feels like probably the most Nightmare on Elm Street-ish character in the film, probably. Very fleshed out. You know his background. He's very considerate of other people. He gets his ass drugged and then dragged across the floor to help Will escape just to make sure Laurie's okay. And I don't think he even knew her. Like, it's all, like, he's a great character. And, like, I love his whole death scene. I love every scene he's in. He's great. I love that actor. Speaking of loving actors, at 18 we have Jimmy, the dead fuck. Dead fuck Jimmy is great. One of the best characters from the fourth movie. Not the best character, though. But he is fucking awesome. I mean, you got to love Crispin Glover. Anyway, number 17 is the last character from the third movie to be introduced, and that would be Vera. Or not introduced, but introduced in this list. She is great. Like, she gives Shelley a lot of chances, but she's very, like, very sure of herself and confident, and, like, I just love the way she interacts with all, like, the whole, like, robber situation, and, like, the way she's trying to deal with Shelley while being nice, but, like, obviously she's not going to go for him, that's fine. But just, I like that character a lot. She was the highlight of those characters. At number 16, we have Linderman, who is in Freddy vs. Jason, gets slammed against the wall and bleeds out because he's on a wall bracket and all that stuff. Linderman is a character that I quickly liked as a small child watching Freddy vs. Jason, so I have a lot of nostalgia. I don't know. I seem to resonate more towards dorks as a kid in horror movies, and or like punks, just outsiders. And I liked Linderman quite a bit. If you'd asked me to rank these characters when I was like 5, he'd probably be higher. But like as an adult, you know, he is a bit dorky for my taste. But he still made it to 16th place, so that's pretty fucking high. I like the way he's like sticking with this group and fighting to defeat Jason and Freddy instead of just, you know, chilling at home while the other the other 4 dealt with it. I guess 5 if you're counting Stubbs, but like Linderman was already there at that point. But just the whole idea of like that whole group deciding that they're going to stick together and solve this problem with these 2 killers, when realistically Linderman hasn't met Freddy yet, and they have Jason in a van. He could have ditched at that point, but didn't. And then he tried to like fight Jason one-on-one because he smacked Kia, and then he gets his ass wrecked from it. And then he has this sweet moment bleeding out, like with her, and they make up from their argument earlier. I don't know. I like it. It's a nice arc. Now we're at 15 and 14, and this is controversial and painful because this is the point of the list where I'm like, and the fact that they just missed off on the 13, which is the last video, which sucks. But 15th place, we have Alice from the first movie and the beginning of the second movie that dies. She is a classic character, and at 14, we have Crazy Ralph. So both of these are the characters that lived through the first movie and then died in the beginning of the second movie. And I love those characters, but they have to be this low because fucking other characters are higher. That's the only logic I have right now. But I love them. Ralph is the most iconic harbinger of doom that there is. You cannot, like, prove me wrong. Alice is a great final girl. She fucking killed Mrs. Voorhees. Classic, iconic, great moment. Love it. But they have to go here because there's too much icon status at the top of this list. Too much more nostalgia. I love these characters. Like, Alice isn't these aren't the last 2 characters from the first movie in this list, but like it's very close. It's just, again, it's a matter of more relatability, whereas Alice is also getting stoned, drinking beer, sitting around the table and fucking playing strip Monopoly, so she's just as fucking party as everyone else. She just takes longer to get to it. But yeah, no, there's other characters that just have funnier lines. Ralph is higher than Alice because, like, Ralph is just a fucking icon. Like, you're doomed, you're all doomed. But, like, they just missed out on the top 13, and the top 13 is going to have its own ranking because, obviously. So, yeah. Like, subscribe, all that bullshit. Stay tuned. We still have 3 killers left in our top 13, and 2 more survivors left, which would leave a few victims, quite a few. So join next time for that. And for as far as movies left, you got 1, 2, 4, 6, and 11. As those are the ones that still have movies in the running. Keeping in mind that Jason is in a lot of the movies, so I guess that still counts as them being in the running, maybe. But in that case, then so is all the Nightmare on Elm Streets in the running. So in the next video, see if Jason or Freddy ranks higher.